Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Back again. Breaking news. I have signed on to do a death match with Buff Bagwell. We're just looking for a venue right now, people.
That means the Infinity Gauntlet clearly has been lit up. If you're doing a death match, we'll leave it at that, right?
Yes, we're gonna use the trimmers we use to trim our pubic hair and see who bleeds out first.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, we're just absolutely green today, folks. Ugh.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But man, hey, before we get started, as always, we've got something. We're gonna do a little new twist to the show this week. Before we get started, though, we always want to, send a shout out to all of our members over at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. We appreciate everybody signing up over there and ask that you continue. If you're not a subscriber, that you get the show early. Like today, we're recording on Tuesday. You would have gotten the show 2 days early, essentially, if you're a Patreon member over at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. And then lots of other cool stuff I throw up there every week.
So my predictions are actually predictions.
Exactly.
They actually will be happening, and you'll be able to see them before we get to the shows.
Exactly. And that's the fun part about it. Is like, with the recording, we're always pre-Dynamite. Like today, we're pre-NXT. I mean, so there's all kinds of stuff, and it's kind of a different twist. So kind of what we wanted to add to it was something new called listen, we're looking for names. We're going to call it the Weekly Roundup, if you will. For today, if somebody's got a cool name, send it to tappedoutpod@gmail.com. We'd appreciate it. Basically, what we're going to do here now is kind of, a quick synopsis. And it's not like, hey, this happened on this show, this happened on, like just bullet points of things we liked and didn't like out of, certain shows.
Points.
Yeah, I mean, just, and you'll get the gist of it here as we go into it. We're talking about like, hey, like one of the cool things this week was obviously the face-off on SmackDown with Roman and Goldberg. We're going to go in that in detail a little bit because we are going to do some questions, from the listeners as well. But that's I thought that was a cool moment. I know a lot of people give Goldberg shit, but dude, I'm like, it is what it is, man.
We were at a live show and we heard about this the moment it happened, folks. Just people were pissed off. You gotta give him some credit. Goldberg's got one match on his contract, and they're going to Saudi.
Yeah. So, but it's a big deal. Like, look, and it's funny as the running jokes become, they're going to Saudi. You got to get Goldberg just, up to ready to go and go to work because that's where most of his stuff happens. It seems, that was kind of one of the huge bullet points this week, was that they set Roman's opponent. The other one, happened literally when you do the time travel aspect of it. It was a week ago. MJF beats CM Punk, gives him his first loss on and AEW. Not only did he beat him once, he beat him twice. Because we had the silly, and it wasn't silly. I get it, but I'm like, okay. They had a good older style wrestling match. MJF cheats to win, gets caught. Referee restarts the match, still ends up picking up the W. And it's funny, and it was never one of those because I'm never one to be, this guy deserves to win, and this guy deserves, he needs, but in the grand scheme of things, it's one of those, Punk could lose and it didn't hurt him.
Yeah.
It really does a lot for MJF for the win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's the guy now, because think about it, now he's an asshole heel who can now brag he gave CM Punk his first loss in AEW.
Yes.
So.
And that works.
Yeah. Works very well, and so kudos to Punk and MJF, because I think also what they proved, the fan base will get behind a pretty, and I don't want to say safe's not the word, but a more traditional style wrestling match. It doesn't have to be the car crash that a lot of the other matches go to, and the fans rode it for like 30 plus minutes.
30-minute traditional wrestling match. Wow.
Yeah. I think it was like 36 maybe, I think was the actual, something like that. Because I remember the main event starting and me looking up at the clock going like, wow, we got another long one coming. That seems to be in their wheelhouse. They like long matches for some reason, especially on Dynamite. But this one was very well done. The other thing this week that kind of jumped off the page is it literally just happened couple days ago, last night, depending on when you're listening. It was funny that there are people tweeting, posting, like, did the Miz go too far by making the comment? You know, he made this. He was on the Miz TV segment with Dominic and Ray, and he looks at Dominic and kind of like, "You're a little bit taller than your dad. Are you sure you're not Eddie's kid?" Look, most people got it and laughed and thought, you know, like, "Oh, heat moment." What do you think, Meyer? I mean,
it was a gimmick. It was a gimmick. It was a custody of Dominic on a pole match. It was a gimmick. Eddie was a heel. He questioned the child's legitimacy. How else are you going to insult a man that you're fighting and then tell him you fathered his child? It's for heat. It's a wrestling gimmick.
Right.
The stuff that happens in the ring is not real life. People go in the ring and say things that they're either scripted to say or that'll draw money. It's no different than watching a movie.
Right.
It just happens in a squared circle.
Miz doing Miz stuff to get heat. I always, you know, it's why he's probably, you know, one of the best that's out there right now, especially. Yes. You know, look, you could argue MJF and him are, you know, as far as the heels go, because everybody else wants to be a cool heel. Those two seem to be okay just being a heel.
They're doing heel stuff. They're doing, we try to compare them. We try to compare the Miz to older heels. He's not going to be able to kidnap people. He's not going to be able to hit people with a car. He's not going to be able to tie Dusty Rhodes to the back of the car before he takes off. Okay, it's a different time. So he's doing the best with what healing is in 2022.
Right.
Very, very proud of it.
And then on Impact, I know you're a big fan of Impact. I like
Yes.
Impact. You're probably a bigger fan than I am. And you brought up what about Impact this week?
They popped the 27th show of January. They popped their highest rating in a year. Maybe Mickey James helped out with that. And then the turnaround last week, and Matt Cardona beats Jordan Grace for the digital title, or the
digital media title, whatever.
Yeah, which is a great name. I just can't always remember things. I thought that was awesome that you've got Matt Cardona. I love what he's doing. Mickey James and the Forbidden Door, and on to the Forbidden Door. Put our tinfoil hats on, wrestling listeners, because we're going to have to deal with something. And who the hell named it the Forbidden Door anyway? That sounds like what Doran's called butt sex. But here's the thing. We're going to look at the AEW Forbidden Door deal. Is it really a Forbidden Door if you don't leave a program you're currently working on?
Okay, let's stop. I'm going to give you the commentary. But let's backpedal up because you're putting the tinfoil hat on. Why? It's because all the names we see.
There's so damn many ideas and theories and stuff. If somebody said John F. Kennedy was coming out tomorrow night on AEW, it wouldn't surprise me because they're saying Triple H is coming. They're saying Shane. We were stopped by Jeff Mooney at Southern Fried to be told Shane McMahon is going to AEW.
No, Shane McMahon was at a house show they ran on Saturday.
Yes.
Or Friday, whatever. He was on a house show they ran Friday. And I'm like, well, they don't run house shows.
We didn't say it to him.
I did not, no. But to your point earlier, so the Forbidden Door, and from my take on it, is this. It's somebody who's with another company. They're currently contracted by another company.
If they were to bring in Okada, okay? If they were to bring in Moose, those are people who are actively contracted at other companies. Bringing in Jeff Hardy, who isn't under contract but still has a non-compete, not a Forbidden Door.
And Matt Hardy, by the way, insinuating that Tony Khan bought out his contract so he could bring him in.
If that's amazing. If it is, he would have had to bought out that contract. No telling what it cost. I think the best choice though right now is Samoa Joe. Indy Darling, who never was used correctly.
Which he was a 2-time NXT champion.
Used correctly.
Okay, so let's do this, Meyer. Let's run through the gambit of what we've heard. Shane McMahon, no.
No.
Triple H, no.
No.
Here's my problem. Here's where we get. So we're going to go outside of the forbidden. I mean, if you go in the whole true depth, the true honesty of a forbidden door, I always say names like, and just say yes or no. I say names like Moose.
No.
Okada, you brought up.
No.
Okada's a possibility, by the way.
Actually, yeah.
It's a possibility. Here's one. Nick Aldis.
Possibility. Not enough pop, though.
My concerns are, because then we get into guys who are not really, because they're free agents at this point, so they're not. So, yes. But now we're getting to who like we think the real possibilities are, right? I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave Jeff for last for a reason, because we hear Killer Cross. He's kind of a name that's out there. Obviously, he's a free agent. He could be signed at whatever. Keith Lee is the name everybody, I think it was Alvarez. It's kind of like, oh, everything I'm hearing is it's Keith Lee. And mad
probably on his honeymoon.
Could be, but mad respect to both of those guys. But if those two guys walk out, do they live up to the hype that Tony Khan put, on the table for them?
See, Tony Khan wants a needle mover. He wants a needle mover. Those guys are not the big hype he's put out. And if he keeps doing this, what did you say about Dixie Carter?
That's who he becomes.
What is he going to turn into?
He's going to turn into Dixie Carter, because she constantly referred, like, this is the biggest thing in our sport. This is the biggest thing in our sport. And it never lived up to the hype. Well, I should say never, but often did not live up. And then so eventually people hear her hype something and they're like, yeah, Joe Schmo's going to walk out.
So is Tony Khan going to become the boy who cried Forbidden Door instead of the boy who cried wolf?
Right.
If he brings in Keith Lee.
So
if he brings in Killer Cross.
My only argument is I will say Jeff Hardy fits the description, because people think technically he's still in his non-compete. So it would be kind of a Forbidden Door move. I think Jeff Hardy has a huge, massive fan base.
Jeff Hardy's terrific. Jeff Hardy's amazing. And if he's sober, Jeff Hardy is probably one of the best performers you could possibly get. Yeah. One of the most electric people in professional wrestling, in my opinion.
Do you think, and I'm going to give my opinion second, do you think Jeff Hardy's a needle mover enough for AEW?
Yes.
He's
a massive needle mover.
If it's him, definite home run. If it's Samoa Joe, I'm more inclined, because Joe made it a little further. He was a commentary. He was on TV. WWE fans know who he is outside of wrestling fans.
Samoa Joe is a triple.
Correct.
Jeff Hardy's a home run.
And as much as I love Killer Cross, and as much as I love Keith Lee, they're singles.
Yeah.
They're not home runs. They're going to be good wrestlers, and you've done it again. And you've brought in more good wrestlers who I don't know that, are you appeasing just your fan base and we'll move, that kind of thing. So time will tell, because here's the crazy thing. Most people are going to be watching or listening to this on Thursday. So you will have known what we said, but you'll know, but this is going into it. Our Patreon members over at patreon.com/tap.pod get all this before it happens. So,
and give me feedback. Okay.
Yeah.
Give me feedback. Even if you're not a Patreon, listen to this on Thursday. Tell me I was a fool. Or tell me I was right.
Or here's this.
Break down what I said.
Even as simple as this, Myron, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Email us. Were you disappointed with whoever walks out on Dynamite on Wednesday? Or did it live up to the hype?
Mm-hmm.
There's a way. That's one way to do it. But I tell you, man, look, let's keep it moving to the next. We actually got our questions back. We had to jump on those this week. So who do we got with the first question?
We have King Arthur from Sheffield, England. Hello, Arthur. Arthur's question was, do you think the WWE should book Goldberg to defeat Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber? And then maybe Roman win it back on SmackDown. Ooh, God. Oh. Ooh.
Honestly, it was funny. Bully Ray actually discussed this on Busted Open. And it was funny. I had this conversation in a couple of days, I think it was Saturday, with somebody. And I agreed with Bully before Bully said it. Yeah, why not? Shake shit up. Because, listen, what was one of the number one complaints with the Royal Rumble, Myron?
It was not surprising.
It was too predictable. Would you be shocked, Myron, if at an Elimination Chamber, Goldberg beat Roman Reigns?
Very shocked. Very shocked.
You would say you never saw it coming.
Never saw it coming. Unless, I mean, there were people said, but I don't believe this is going to happen.
No,
I would never believe this is going to happen. So if it does happen, I'd be like, whoa.
but listen, this is because remember this time around though, Myron. This is the only pay-per-view between Rumble and Mania.
Yeah, so I love that.
I love it, but two, it gives you time. Like, he's got all kinds of time. Like, one of the things you could do is you could have Roman come out on, like I say, he loses in Saudi at Elimination Chamber. He comes back to SmackDown. You have a face-off in the ring with Goldberg and with, Roman. You could even get Brock involved, have like them three of them standing in the ring, fighting and arguing about Roman wants a rematch. Well, guess what? They've already said they don't have rematch clauses. So he's
Who's
not
the number one contender now.
Brock's already he's got a shot at the title. He's in the main event at WrestleMania. He's already called his shot from his Rumble win. So then that, and listen, by no means, like, I don't want to see a three-way with Goldberg, with Brock, and with Roman. But hey, Byron, you did that as a wrestling fan, but there's a shit ton of fans out there who would love that match. Yeah,
I'm a smart fan. I'm not a regular wrestling fan. I read the dirt sheets. I know why I shouldn't like that.
Everybody's telling you how bad it is. But I actually did like Goldberg's match with Bobby Lashley a while back. So, hey, maybe he's caught lightning in a bottle and he's getting back in his groove. And maybe he won't kick Roman's head off into the front row of seats. But that's a whole other argument.
Oh,
but my point being is, like, you've got time. Like, this, you can. So let's say you don't want to do the three-way. Because if you do the three-way, you just run it for, you figure it out between Elimination Chamber and Mania. How do you get there? The three of those. Now, listen, I understand Goldberg's got one match left on his contract.
Yeah.
Vince can throw enough cash at him and resolve that. Hey, we're going to give you a main event spot at Mania. Because here's the thing. If you had a choice between because, I've heard rumblings of a three-way at Mania with Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky potentially. If you had to choose.
They've done that before, though.
Absolutely, they have. I say you stay one-on-one. Because if you're telling me I had to choose, like, I'm going to get a three-way either with Brock, Roman, and Goldberg, or Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda, I'll take the triple threat with the men.
Yeah.
So
this is
now we clearly don't want that, by the way. But here's the thing: you want to pop a rating on SmackDown? Goldberg defeats Roman at the Chamber. The next week, they have a confrontation in the ring face-to-face. There's a challenge, blah, blah, blah. And you set up for a match for a week or 2 weeks later on SmackDown, the rematch, and you give that match away on a SmackDown. Cool, right? And then you still can get
eyes.
Yeah, and guess what happens? Maybe Brock gets involved, and that's what causes Goldberg to lose, and we end up with Roman and Brock anyway at Mania. So you can still get there. And it's not absolutely horrible. I mean, it's really not. I think it completely, what it takes off the table is it takes off the whole, like, it's so predictable. We knew, everybody knew that Roman was going to beat Goldberg. People would be like, damn. So that's just my opinion. So, but you know what's not predictable, Myron?
What's that?
What the hell's going to happen this Saturday down in Thompson, Georgia?
The battle lines have been drawn on Saturday, February 12th at Viral Pro Wrestling. Wade Adams defends the Outbreak Championship against the debuting Gustavo Aguilar. Vegas continues to search for the monster as he takes on the Heathen Cruel. And in the main event, Sean Legacy defends the BPW Heavyweight Championship against John Davis, Owen Knight, and Chip Day. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Bell time is at 7. Tickets start at just $10. For more information, visit bpw.ticketbud.com. Viral Pro Wrestling. Get infected.
Yeah, man, we're going to cover them more when we get into the Indy Talk a little bit later here on the show. So let's keep it rocking and rolling, man. What do we got next?
We have Hudson from Norwalk, Connecticut. Hudson wants to know, with AEW signing so much talent over the last few months, who are some of the talents that you think we need to have more TV time? Oh, this is a tough one. Because this is what I've been complaining about lately, is you can't put everybody on TV.
Well, I want to start with one special one, and it's kind of out of order, and it's a weird one, right? So recently, Dave from West Virginia, he's actually one of our friends up at WrestleCade. He's part of the crew. He sent me a question, and I kind of funny. I was like, it fit right into here, so I wanted to shout out because he had asked me specifically about what they need to do with Danhausen going forward, and my thing was it fits here for a reason. Danhausen needs the TV time if you're going to bring him in, because I think the character, like, we know who Danhausen is, but the masses need to learn who that character is first.
Yes.
Like, who is he? Like, like the inside is, because it was one of those, like, is this character so inside baseball that if you're a mass fan, you don't get it. So you got to get him there. But like I said, he asked me, did I think it would be like a faction or a commentator or whatever? Okay, they've got so many commentators. Let's take that off the table. I don't think that's happening.
You're not kidding.
But I could see him. I know this sounds crazy, like, and I don't mean the same result, folks. So bear with me. Like an oddities type faction where you have like Orange Cassidy, you have Danhausen. You could bring Statlander, like she's the alien or whatever. So you can fit like the Island of Misfit Toys, like faction, and put them all together and see kind of just like one weird party. So, but I think he needs that time just for the sake of the character needs to be explained and fleshed out to the masses.
So, I think there's an appeal for the guy.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what to do with him though.
Dave Wills loves him and endorses him, so I'll just show me, prove me. So, but you've got, as far as the other thing, names on the list, man, a lot of these we're not going to have to spend a ton of time on. Scorpio Sky, but just because, I mean, like, dude, have you watched him wrestle?
Yeah, he's terrific.
Yeah. Phenomenal talent. He deserves to be seen more on TV. That's just my opinion.
Is he the son of Too Cold Scorpio?
No.
Or is that, okay, cool. Thank you.
Jake Hager, he's another one. And there was another one that I almost had on the list and people would be stunned. Jake Hager, just because he's a big badass, he's a brute, he's strong. He should be in the mix because of his MMA background. I almost put Sammy on this list, which everybody's like, what? And I'm like, because without the inner circles thing, I mean, they're not in focus and they don't really have, like, to me, a huge story. I think all of those pieces of that puzzle, Sammy's not lost in the shuffle because he's got the TNT title now.
Yeah.
But everybody else in there kind of seems lost at this point. Would you agree?
Well, is it kind of like when Jericho's gone, what do we do with you?
Yeah, basically. That's what it feels like.
And that's not a good, I mean, you're still employed, but are we waiting on Chris? And is it something we can, I don't understand why the inner circle is still together.
I don't even know
why that was an easy breakup.
Yeah, because you don't even have to, like, have them implode and fight each other. You can just have them just go do their own thing.
I'd leave Hager with Jericho as his bodyguard because he's a rock star.
But they're baby faces now, so he doesn't need one.
Yeah.
I mean, but here's your problem.
Yeah.
Do you got too many people? I mean, is this the problem?
You got too many cooks, man. What are you going to do with a good tag team? You're going to break off the LAX?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to use them as a tag team?
Yeah.
Where are they gone? I mean, where's the best friends? Where are all these where are FTR? Have we got enough tag team time for all these tag teams? All these individual wrestlers? Everybody is so... AEW signs very unique wrestlers. Miro. They did some good things with him. What are they going to do with him in the future?
Right. Where's he? He's off the radar now, it feels like. I mean, and I'm not saying they're not on TV at all. They just need more TV time. And here's the funny one. When I say Joey Janela, by the way, who I've heard he did resign, for sure. But here's my thing. He was one of you were going with the indie darling route. You were going to go with the guys. Look, he's got traction, whether anybody, whether you like it or not. My thing was you signed him and you're doing it, but he's not on TV enough to get any more traction on AEW.
No.
You brought up Miro. And then, of course, here's the craziest one on my list. Hangman Adam Page. He doesn't just need TV time. He needs quality TV time.
Yeah, yeah.
If you were to sit there and say he is your world champion, I beg to differ. And I love me some Page. Everybody knows I love Hangman Adam Page. He's not the most important character on your show right now. Like if you ask me I would put MJF, CM Punk, and Daniel, and Bryan Danielson immediately off the top of my head are three more important characters on TV.
Yeah.
That ain't good. Think if I told you that Roman Reigns as your world champion. Now, granted, we made the same argument, by the way, about Big E. That he didn't feel like he was the main focus, and he was the WWE champion.
Well, is Adam Page one of the executive vice presidents?
I don't think so.
Because we have to get Brandy TV time to argue with that top team guy.
Dan Lambert, right?
Yes, apparently that's the worst drizzling shits of all time.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't watch AEW as much as I used to. I seem to have lost a lot of interest except for MJF. That's, MJF, Bryan Danielson were the guys I was paying attention to, and they're not even your main champion.
Bryan Danielson wants to team up with Jon Moxley. Apparently, listen, there's a feud coming. That's a whole other story. But so anyway, those would be the people that Scorpio Sky, Jake Hager, Joey Janela, Miro, Adam Page, and Danhausen. Those are the ones that I think that they're going to need not just TV time, but quality TV time as well. So, all right, brother. Well, what do we got next for the next question?
Vince from St. Charles, Missouri, not Connecticut. Vince. With Matt Cardona showing up at Impact, NWA, and all over the Indies, how big of a star do you think he could become? Now, this guy has a T-shirt I love. His T-shirt says, "The Fed was my developmental." How cool is that?
Yeah.
He is doing something right now where he's making himself famous, wrestling for everyone but WE and AEW. He won the digital media title on Impact. He's facing for the NWA world title, Nick.
Yeah.
How seriously? He is in the mix for the NWA world title this Saturday night.
Think about what you just said, Myron. He's a huge player in GCW, who I say is a player in wrestling right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's the Impact Digital Media Champion.
Mm-hmm.
He's wrestling for the NWA Championship.
Mm-hmm.
On the Indies, he's pretty much money. I mean, listen, guys everywhere.
GCW's coming to Atlanta too. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. I did.
That might be on my list.
How big of a star do we think we could be, or Matt Cardona could be? Here's where I'm at. I'm going to pay very attention to the first words I say in the sentence. If he chooses to, I think he is about to set the table for himself to get a very nice payday from the big two, WWE, AEW. If he chooses to. He may just say, forget about it. I just want to stay where I'm at. I want to have total control of my career and kind of do whatever I want, when I want, and get, pay be damned. I'm making great money, selling tons of merch, blah, 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 and I'm good.
He's got a great podcast.
Yeah.
He's got a beautiful wife. This is the second time he's built himself. This is the second time he built himself. He did this when he was Zack Ryder. He put himself over and got himself over on the internet. And that got him the international title. Not international title, intercontinental title.
Mm-hmm.
This was something that he's doing right now that's unprecedented. No one's ever got over as much working the indie circuit as him. He's not working, skating rinks and pool halls. He's got up there a little bit higher, bingo halls, not pool halls. He's doing a great job. He's made himself a heel, a fascinating heel. So, I mean, he wore a shirt that said "Fuck Mick Foley." How do you get more heat than that? Proud of the guy, impressed by the guy. I love what he's doing. I want to see more. I don't want to see him sign. I want to see him continue doing what he's doing.
I agree. I think he runs that course, and it's just in the long term. I think it's probably better for him. So,
yeah.
Speaking of long term and what's best for you, Myron, let's take a few minutes to listen to another one, a very important message.
Life insurance may be the best way to provide financial security for your loved ones after you're gone. But what's the right type of life insurance to have? Which do you need, whole or term life insurance? The answer may surprise you. You may want both, because you have both short-term and long-term financial goals. Both types will help you leave something behind for your family. In general, it's more affordable to buy term insurance to cover short-term expenses and whole life insurance to cover long-term expenses if you passed away. Talk to a Women Life representative today.
Well, all right, brother. We'll let you know. Yeah, man, it's a big thing. I always tell everybody. Everybody obviously knows I do life insurance. It's so that's
where I bought my life insurance.
So
I put my trust in this man and his company to take care of my family. Every woman in my family has a policy from him or his company. So
absolutely. So again, 678-300-8501. Give us a call. We'll get you squared away. But let's head right on into the next question, man.
I'm hoping somebody upstairs is giving my dog some Benadryl because she's quite loud. But we're on to Christine from Elgin, Illinois. Why do you think there was so much controversy over AEW using blood in the women's matches? Comments made by WB and Art. Do you agree? Well, I thought we'd cover this before, but you have an entirely better take on it than we had from our friend, Mr. Bischoff.
Absolutely. I think the point, so it all stirred up from conversations from the quarterly earnings and stuff from WWE. There was comments made. We did discuss this topic slightly in the past and shared our opinions. Like we stated, listen, I'm not a big blood fan. I mean, in general, I get it if it means something. It's been a long running feud, or it's the heat, the heat magnet that starts something.
You're
at
the Omni.
Something.
You got a steel cage. You're at WrestleMania that you've worked to something. I get it. I love when there's a time and a place for everything. When Matt Hankins bled in the cage at Anarchy after they'd built that huge feud that finally paid off. On a match payoff, a little blood, I like it there. You can't spice it every day. Right. It's like if you put hot sauce on every single thing you eat, eventually it's not so hot anymore.
Right.
You're just going to have to keep putting more hot sauce on it, or hotter hot sauce.
Correct.
And you're getting to the point you're going to need more blood.
Right.
And you're going to need more crazy stuff. And what's going to end it is a kendo stick in somebody's eye, or somebody dies.
Well, that was the whole point about how graphic and how violent and how over the top do you get. Because listen, does blood, guts, and gore, can it get ratings in wrestling? Absolutely. Does it mean you're going to make more money? Maybe not. And that was the point that was clearly that I took from a conversation that was when the WWE, first of all, let's say, were they taking a shot at AEW? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Without question, they were taking a shot at, the WWE. But they weren't really wrong. I think the point they were trying to make is if you use blood and it's, you run off advertisers at a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is it doesn't really matter what ratings you're getting if all of the good advertisers don't want to touch you. I mean, think about it. They already had, Domino's that they had the issue with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to wind up with Title Pawn, used car lots, unsavory places that aren't going to give you as much money for ad time. You're not going to be able to sign all these free agents.
I know you're talking about that was back in the old territory days. I don't think we're ever going to see Title Pawn and stuff on AEW.
Aaron's Rents.
But But I just mean it. It's look at the Attitude Era, because we all say at the Attitude Era that was peak WWF/E. That it was never it's never been better than that. That's what everybody tells you. It was the peak. A lot of advertisers wanted nothing to do with it. They actually
have prepaid phones as an advertiser, even today.
Well, that's different. I can argue that one, but those are big. That's a lot of those are. It's AT&T backed, prepaid phone. So that's a whole other. But anyway, they literally had to clean up their act and get into the PG era to get to the point that they are generating the revenues they are, because now people will tolerate, like, it's networks. Like, how do you get on Fox? Well, you made a shitty PG era product, and that's how you got on Fox, right? I mean, it wasn't these other things. So it's, the problem is, at the end of the day, like, the AEW is and can be a better wrestling product. But that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to make more money. Fans don't care about that. That's the crazy thing. Fans don't care, right? Fans just want that. I want to watch the best wrestling product that I like the best. They don't care about how much money the company makes in the background.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of keep that all in perspective, that they don't care, but at the same time, the company at some point will have to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Paul Heyman, think about it. Paul Heyman was ECW at its peak, let people come out with, unlicensed music. They were caning and cheering and bleeding, and they were pile driving women and this, that, and the other. None of it mattered. It was so over the top. Like, think about it. It was great. It was so hot. Advertisers were never going to touch it, and nobody, so it didn't
Did
matter.
it ever run? It never ran in prime time, did it?
Oh, God, no. No. When they did, yes, let me back up. Yes, when they were on the TNN deal and they were in prime, yeah. But think about that. The network, they had the censor hold where they came in and wouldn't let them do a lot of their stuff. So, point exactly. Proven, right? So that's kind of a twist. So I guess at the end of the day it was a shot, but they weren't 100% wrong with the statement that they made.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I love the intense matches of AEW. I love that they're trying different things. I love that they're bringing in people that you wouldn't see on a WWE product. A harder, edgier person. I like that they're trying all kind of stuff. But there's a business model that's been made on how to make money in this business. And it doesn't make any sense not to follow it.
I think the very fine line here, you can make money and you can make huge money. And that's, I think, that draws the line of where you have to start looking at the content that you put in. So, anywho. Well, man, we're going to keep it rolling, man, and we're going to go right into the Georgia Indy Talk.
My favorite section.
Yeah, pretty packed section this week, man, as we dive into lots of things. We always like to say, like, hey, where were we last week? What's coming up this week? The big one, of course, is, we love these doubleheader weekends. Like last weekend, we had Southern Honor on Friday. Southern Fried on, So what was your take coming out on Southern Honor on Friday, man?
Hot show. Really drew heat at the end. I enjoyed the show. There was a little weird pause when Kevin Ryan got injured.
Yeah,
but
shout
they got
out
the
to Kevin
momentum
Ryan,
back.
by the way.
Took care of it.
Yeah.
Gunner almost got smothered with a shopping bag.
I wanted to bring this up in it because it's that audience is just a weird audience in general. And what I mean by that is they're not a diehard wrestling fan base. So it was kind of when they were starting to bring in Dan and they were bringing in Tank, I was kind of concerned, like, okay, these people don't really all know who they are. And again, no insult to them. That's that fan base.
No, they're not a kind of fan base that does research on wrestlers or keeps up with the ins and outs of Georgia independent wrestling.
They're more like WWE watchers in that fan base than there are
AEW
anything.
watchers.
AEW
I think probably
too.
more AEW watchers.
Well, I just mean there's like that casual fan base too that comes that supports. But by the end of that, they knew they didn't like Tank. So mission accomplished. Let's go with that.
I got to give Dan that, man. I got to give Dan that. That voice is grating, and he's scary, and he works both on your nerves and your psyche. And then when that big man comes out of the crowd and puts a bag over the hero's head, it's scary. That's a very visceral, scary feeling. They did that perfectly.
Yeah, very good job there. Joe and Owen led the show off.
Ooh.
Clearly, that story's not over. They're still got stuff to work out. David Ali and AC Mack. The match was for the IWTV Championship. Great match. Really cool. Mack retains. David, does the cheap shot after the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this match, you see why those are two of the best wrestlers in Georgia. They showed out in that match, absolutely. So I can't wait to see that one again. I would actually love to get a copy of that match.
Yeah, the next night, David Ali was on Dark.
He was on the road to Dark. So
and that night Cyrus was at Dark.
Yeah.
Those guys are making it. These guys are getting shots. It's so good to see guys that we've watched on the circuits for years get such big shots, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Cruel, he was there. Him and Sal had a very punishing match. Cruel kind of does his thing. And it's crazy too because Cruel is on Southern Honor, has a huge match with Sal, destroys Sal. And that segues right into Southern Fried because he shows up there too. Poor Alex Keitel got killed, literally by Cruel.
Split John Johnson's pants.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the time when John Johnson split his pants, but that's when he took a bump, and I'm assuming during the bump,
right,
his pants were split.
It's funny, you said he split his pants, and I was saying to say when Cruel grabbed him,
Yes, he's lucky he didn't evacuate his pants also.
Correct. So, but listen,
Logan is dead.
The card itself, this is not a knock on the show, by the way. This is actually a huge compliment. The main event was a car crash, and it needed to be. It was everything that they fought all over that building. They destroyed it. Just like
Southern Fried does that. They have that. They have that. I'm in the crowd shit, in that building, which is not small. It's a nice sized building, but they seem to manage to get out and get in everybody's face and let them know this is the real stuff. And then they work their way back in the ring and have a match. You get a feeling of involvement. They pulled, Todd Sexton pulled Nick Halen over to us and made him wave at us. Brutal.
Right.
Brutal. I'm beginning to get to the point where I've seen Todd Sexton in more hardcore matches than just about anything else.
It's that way, yeah.
I think they got the report wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Nick Halen that power bomb or superplexed Todd Sexton off of that plastic table in the corner. Am I wrong?
I think so. I think you're right. Yeah.
They stacked a plastic table on the top rope. It was held by Bobby Moore and Adrian. And then they got up on top of it and did a move. Scary.
Yeah.
Scared the living shit out of me. Because one, I didn't think the table was going to make it. Two, it looked like a super bump. Kudos, guys. The whole thing was a great match. It was violent, but it made sense.
Right. And then the rest of the card set the table for the future. And I think, things like they shock the crowd. There's a CT Keys, turns on narcissism. So CT clearly wants his, Classics title back at all costs. And it really ripped the heart out of the fans there that loved him. So that was just an interesting thing to see.
Heel turn, so good.
And I think in the 8-man, I think what we accomplished, Happy Madness, Palmetto Express, Undeniable. I think that's your core, and there's more pieces that are going to revolve around it. But I think those 3 teams out of that 8-man that they had. Those 3 teams are your core. And I think that one of either Happy Madness is going to get the shot back at Undeniable, or the Palmetto Express is going to be the young white meat baby faces that are going to get a chance to get their opportunity at the title.
Haven't got it yet, but they're up at they're getting towards Master Machine Pop. I think they're probably at about 70% of it. They're super popular, but that place used to just lose their shit for Master Machine. And I think those guys are eventually going to get that. And it's good because Griff Garrison works on AEW now.
Yeah, no doubt. So Southern Fried, great show. Their next one's the 19th, I believe. Is that right?
It's
the Saturday. So
Saturday I'm working. So 2 weeks from last.
So I think it's the 19th. KLT, they ran on Saturday as well. Skrilla's still the man. I mean, he's wrestling legends like Action Mike Jackson up there. Look, the talent. They're drawing. They were over 300. By the way, Southern Fried over 300. I think like 308 or something like that. Southern Honor was over 500. So kudos.
We're seeing crowds again.
We are, which is positive. My thing to KLT though is I a little more. Just give me a little bit more, and it's ignore me if you don't agree. It's fine. I just say give me a little more on the talent. Let's keep raising the bar, and I think their numbers could gradually increase if they kept going with it. If just kind of keep supporting the undercard, in my opinion. But look, we promised you when we were getting later into the Indy Talk that we were going to talk a little bit more in depth about our friends down at Viral Pro.
The battle lines have been drawn on Saturday, February 12th at Viral Pro Wrestling. Wade Adams defends the Outbreak Championship against the debuting Gustavo Aguilar. Vegas continues to search for the monster as he takes on the Heathen Cruel. And in the main event, Sean Legacy defends the BPW Heavyweight Championship against John Davis, Owen Knight, and Chip Day. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Bell time is at 7. Tickets start at just $10. For more information, visit bpw.ticketbud.com. Viral Pro Wrestling. Get infected.
Well, man, that's what they got coming up this Saturday down in Thompson, Georgia. Viral Pro. Look, you got all kinds of stuff going on.
What a card.
Yeah.
Who
do we got, man? Who do we got?
We got Cruel versus Vegas. The Dawsons versus Level X. And this right here, this one's the one that scares me. Chip Day, Sean Legacy, John Davis, and Owen Knight for the title. That's a lot of moving parts, man. That could get crazy.
It will be crazy. I think that match has just got all kinds of excitement on it. You've also got Dream Girl Ellie versus Angelica Risk, who we've seen those, in the 6-man at our show.
That's turning into be a very good rivalry.
I agree. And then, of course, Wade Adams and Gustavo are going to be wrestling for the Outbreak title. Gustavo's making his debut there. But listen, don't sleep along these parts. The Dawsons versus Level X, Level X, listen, they're a phenomenal team. We're huge fans of Blanco Loco. So I think, this is a match where you could see a title change, but you never know the depths at which the Dawsons will stoop to keep their titles. And if there's anybody that could tell you that, the All-Star Special will be there. They will make an appearance to address their title loss to the Dawsons. So that'll be something special as well. But like you said, I think Cruel in Vegas is a rematch from the last show. It's basically, this is the follow-up to their massive show they did, last go-around. And I think you're really kind of setting the table going forward. I think we're kind of at that point of the year where we see that a lot, where there's lots of promotions that are setting the table kind of to their big shows that they're heading to. And I think this is one that's going to do a really good job of it. But Chip, Sean, Legacy, John Davis, and Owen Knight, that ain't a table setter. That's your main event. Yeah. That's where all the, the stuff will be settled right there. So phenomenal talent. So absolutely get your tickets. The link will be in the show notes, so absolutely click on it and you can get your tickets. that's just something we recommend to definitely check those guys out down at Viral.
Mm-hmm.
PCW is going to be running on Friday. Ooh. It's their big homecoming show. Like, who shows up, we will see. We will hear. You know, I know. Are you thinking about going to that?
I really want to go to this show. Yeah. It's on my list. I wanted, man, having 2 double show weekends in a row would be awesome. I really want to go to this PCW show. I love what they're doing down there. I love Matt Hankins. I love some of the people that work there, and the ability to see some of the people that could come back. Man, some of the former wrestlers. Yeah, this is a good one.
My wife, as a school teacher, actually has a weekend off, so I'm not even sure if I'm going to be in town to do those shows this weekend. So we're going to find out and see. So,
well, somebody want to ride?
So we will see. But check out PCW on Friday. Anarchy runs on Saturday. It's funny. I was joking with somebody, and I'm like, the program show will roll on, you know, as we head to Hardcore Hell, because as it seems, the program still, and you know, we talked about it last week, right? That all things lead through the program, apparently, at
and
Anarchy.
through NCW now too.
NCW as well. And if you're tired of me saying it, take the belts off of them. It's that simple, right?
All the belts.
All the belts, right?
It's gonna be a long time of unbuttoning snaps, guys.
Yeah. And on this Saturday show, Jacob Ashworth has that opportunity. He will be wrestling in the main event, Proc the Croc Johnson, for the television title. So there's step one for somebody to try. And note I said that's for somebody to try. Look, it's going to be difficult because of something I very much said about the Dawsons. At the level these guys will stoop to keep those titles. They will win at all costs. Mm-hmm. The program
they're organized. They're well coached.
The program, Myron, lives by NASCAR rules. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Mm-hmm. So keep an eye on that. I think that's going to be the big piece to that puzzle. And of course, you know, I'm sure everybody's favorite wrestler, Nick Kalen, will be there.
Yes.
As well, amongst other people, you know, amongst other talents. I think he's one of the shining stars there in Anarchy. That he's going to give you every time he's in that ring. He's going to give you a good match. You love him there. Maybe not so much at Southern Fried. Maybe he's a little bit of a different cat down in Southern Fried. But at Anarchy, he's a hidden gem up there in Landmark that I think gets a little more. Maybe so much so you might see a match at this point. God, I always do the time travel thing in my head. You might have seen a match on our YouTube channel of Nick this week before our show at this point. So make sure you're checking out the stuff, as I'm going to continue to put some of those matches out on our YouTube channel from all over. Any wrestling promotion who wants to send them, absolutely get me some videos. I appreciate the guys that are sending them. I'm trying to kind of mix them in, and I just don't want to do like a whole one every day. I want to kind of do our show and maybe 2 videos, other videos a week, whether it's matches or whatever.
Been a very successful program. A lot of people getting good looks.
Yeah,
a lot of people getting views out there. I love what's going on with that.
Yeah, and it's simple, man. If you want to, man. If you don't want to, if you want to have a best way to keep it, to see everything and see the matches and all that kind of stuff, what do we tell them, man? You're going to subscribe, right? Subscribe anywhere and everywhere, whether it be, if you're a podcast listener, it's Apple Podcast, iHeartMedia, Spotify, etc., Amazon Music, blah, blah, blah. Any podcast platform, we are there. But dead in the middle, you see, go to YouTube and subscribe, like, share, turn on your notifications, because then every time I drop an episode, not just of the show, but also we drop matches and things like that, you'll be able to get those. So make sure you're turning on your notifications as well. That's very, very key. Of course, same thing if you're a Patreon member, patreon.com/tappedoutpod. You'll get the show early and often. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing the links of matches that we put up on YouTube to Patreon, just so people know they're there, kind of as an added thing. So a little twist to the Patreon stuff, a little bit of a twist, but hey, I'm always trying to come up with something. Any and all any and all ideas, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. We will listen.
Your source for entertainment and wrestling knowledge. Or just
matches.
Me talking.
Right.
And wrestling entertainment.
Yeah. Any other stuff before we get out here? I had one thing. We've kind of glossed over it. No, I just wanted to say, shout out to Kevin Ryan. Hope he does, hopes he heals up pretty well. That was an ugly situation. Messed his knee up at the Southern Honor Show. And, kid's a hard worker. He was their inaugural champion. He's a hard worker. He does what he can. He's a gifted dude. He's a Gibson guy, I believe. And hopefully he heals up pretty quick, and rebounds. I know that can be a little bit of a time consuming, thing, as far as a journey to get back or whatever. So,
yeah,
but
more power to you, man.
Yeah. Any other shows, any other stuff you kind of want to plug or talk about before we get out of here?
No, I'm love doing this show today. It was a great show. I loved covering the stuff I wanted to talk about. And like I said, I'm super psyched about that PCW show, super psyched about the Anarchy show. Viral Pro is a massive show this weekend. I can't get over how good a choice you have of wrestling shows this week. Once again.
Yeah, there's
Georgia
something
is where it's at.
And if you're, look, tickets for Viral are vpw.ticketbud.com. Thank God I remembered that one. vpw.ticketbud.com. And again, it'll be in the show notes, so make sure you click on there. You can get your tickets. If you're looking for shows this weekend, go over on Facebook, check the Rob Rod report. He's going to have on there every show.
Use that as your reference, folks. It's the best way to find wrestling in Georgia and around the Southeast. So.
Yeah, he lists stuff in Alabama, he lists stuff in Georgia, some stuff in Tennessee, etc. So 100%, that's a place. It's a great resource to tap into at the Rob Rod Report over on Facebook, and he will make sure that you don't miss any shows in Georgia that are running. And if your promotions, by the way, send them to him so he can add you to the list. He's going to make the list. I'm going to share his list, and you're going to share his list. And which brings us to a quick thing. It's kind of a share the posters, right? Like, if you're on the show, share the posters. Everybody talks about that. We share as many as we can as we see, blah, 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 and all that good stuff. So make sure you're kind of getting there.
Set your privacy to let people share things you want to promote.
That's a huge one.
If you're just posting pictures of your kids, leave it private. I'm not going to share that stuff. I'm going to share wrestling-centric stuff. I am someone who's been blessed with a weird level of access to the Georgia independent wrestling community that I treasure. And in response, I'm going to share and help promote as much of it as possible. Wrestling shows, podcasts, websites for merch. I buy merch, indie wrestling merch. Zoe Sky, I got this one. If you haven't seen her, find out.
Folks, and kudos to her for responding back. I thought that was funny.
Sweetheart.
Yeah.
She has been a class act, someone I've dealt with back when we first started the show. Always been super nice to me. We've met her before in person at WrestleCade. But let us help you. You've helped us, people. Let us help you.
Yeah. And listen, we always say it, we encourage it. Like we said, make sure you're, subscribing somewhere, especially on YouTube, share the podcast, share the video podcast on YouTube, become a subscriber, make sure you turn on notifications. That's the big one. So you don't miss things, because the matches, folks, I'm not dropping those on scheduled days. I'm literally, as people are giving them to me and I can space them out around the show, I'm going to drop those. And then, of course, as we always encourage you, every week, send in your questions to tappedhelppod@gmail.com. That's a big one. Because, like, for example, this week, we asked the questions, along with all of the topics. One of them I want to know, with Dynamite airing tomorrow/yesterday, depending on when you watch or you listen to the show, my question is, were you happy with the Forbidden Door big surprise? Let us know at tappedhelppod@gmail.com. So we always want you to be interactive and sending us stuff, and that's kind of the stuff we're looking for, man.
Amen.
Well, man, anything else before we get out of here?
I am tapped out, man.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.